the Sunday sessions every Sunday from 7 to 8 p.m. And, usually it's just a platform for us to just build and deconstruct a lot of the problems that are going on in our community, in addition to reconstructing solutions and being innovative about how to implement those solutions to the future. So, it's a roundtable discussion. I want you all to definitely feel comfortable, articulating your thoughts on some of these matters. And also keep in mind that we don't have to be unified in our beliefs to be unified in our intentions. All I ask is that we all are respectful and, give someone the proper time and respect while they're talking, not to interrupt. And we'll just try to make sure everybody gets a chance to speak. Sound good, brothers?
Sounds good.
Fantastic. And I think everybody on Facebook Live agrees. So, with that being said, we will begin our Sunday Sessions conference call. So, a couple weeks ago, this entire month, we're focusing on the relationship element of life, right? And as you know, there's 5 elements of life within the 959. You have the physical, metaphysical, career, academic, relationships, and can anybody else name that 5th one? My brother in the work study session. I know you know that 5th one.
Just in case you can do anything about it, sometimes you sound clear, and then there's another time that you sound like muffled.
Okay.
And I don't know if it's my phone or if you're too close to the microphone, but that happened last week, and I heard you, but I couldn't hear what you were saying.
Okay.
So.
Anybody else having trouble hearing me right now?
Yeah, now whatever you just did, you just came in very clear.
Okay, fantastic. So the question that I posed was what that 5th element of life was, and Brother Michael Parker on Facebook Live, shout out to him, he said resources, right? So this month we're focusing on the relationship element, right? And so a couple weeks ago we were talking about, is interracial dating a weapon of white supremacy? And so we pretty much deconstructed whether it was beneficial or detrimental. And so we're going to further build on that topic. Thank you for mentioning that I sound clear, Brother Dante, on Facebook Live. So I think what we're going to begin talking about today is basically 2 parts, right? We're going to be defining black love as a sequence, or building off of what we talked about a couple weeks ago, and then we're going to define what black power is and ways to achieve that. So the question I pose to you all is, in regards to defining what black love is, do we have a rites of passage process in order that the youth can go through before they begin experimenting with sex and relationships? If not, what should this rites of passage look like? And so I'm going to stop it right there, and I'm going to open it up to the floor. All right? If you just joined the call, mention your name and where you're from, or if you're already on the call, I want to hear you answer that question. What does rites of passage look like for our youth? Brother Craig Wright, what's up, King? You on the line?
What's happening?
What's up, brother? How you doing this evening?
I'm good.
Cool. So the question I pose is, like, do we have a rites of passage process? And what I mean by rites of passage is like a step-by-step process that our youth can go through before they begin experimenting with sex and relationships. What's your experience with that, brother?
Well, from my experience on that, my generation kind of gave us a little bit, but they didn't give us enough information on how to build the right morals standards to sexual understanding.
Right.
Because you don't get your child sexual understanding on what's really important about sex, then they're going to go be confused out here. But that starts at home, though, at an early age. You got to get the kids conditioned to understand love is not sex. And sex is not love. It just emphasizes love.
Ashe, bro. So, like, can you build a little bit on, like, what your background is? Did you come up in a 2-parent household? Did your parents sit you down and have that quote-unquote birds and the bees type of conversation with you? How was that process coming up?
Well, for me, that was basically my brothers and some other people in my family pretty told me down, but they didn't really to explain to my kids early about that. So they be comfortable talking about sex. They be comfortable with their own skin. Because when you are not comfortable, you tend to do things that's not of your nature, and then you learn about yourself. And by that time, it's too late.
Respect, fam. And so you say you have children. What ages are your children, and what sex are they, and how many do you have?
Okay, I got 4 boys, 22, 20, 16, and gonna be 15.
Wow, fam. Wow, that's what's up. Congrats, brother. Much respect to you and your parenting skills. And so I think you mentioned some really good things, man. It's all about that transparency and basically communicating to them at their proper ages and stages in life so they comprehend, the importance of these topics, right? When I mean by comprehend, that incorporates everything from understanding into the more affectionate terms of overstanding, understanding, and outerstanding, right? Being able to be under, on the outside, and above, what that understanding concept might be in terms of sex, right? Anyone else, though? I want to kind of hear your thoughts. If you just joined the call, mention your name and where you're from. We're kind of talking about, do we have a rites of passage or a kind of birds and the bees or a curriculum that the youth can kind of go through before they begin experimenting with sex and relationships? And if not, what should or what does this look like? You kind of talk about your own experience or how you deal with your kids or how it was coming up for you. I want to hear from the family. What about my brother from Alabama? You want to give your thoughts on this topic, bro?
Hey, yeah, I was actually trying to stay on mute since I'm in the car and I make a lot of noise. But from my perspective, well, I guess this is a good topic for me to gain a lot of knowledge from. I guess I wouldn't say I'm the best person to talk to this about, although I'm married, but from a teaching standpoint, this is something, I guess, from a conscious standpoint, it's not something that I can, I guess, necessarily say I can identify with from being able to teach someone because this is not something that was ever really, I guess, taught to me, growing up or anything like that, sex and love. So I guess one thing I can say, and I'm not like the brother who just spoke a couple seconds ago. I just have a 2-year-old son, so this is a good learning lesson for me. But one thing that I will want to be able to teach my son, and I'm about to have a daughter in a couple months.
Congrats, bro.
Thank you. To teach them as well, like you said, the differentiation between sex and love. It's just, understanding, the energy that you're putting out there when it comes to sex, and understanding, I guess, the consequences and really understanding, like, what are you doing when you're expressing love, through sex, and just, hey, okay, this is, not something that you just do with everybody, but like I say, I really wish I was a better candidate to talk to someone about when it comes to this.
Nah, but you're good, fam, and that's why we have these conference calls. Everyone's at different levels of comprehension and different levels of experiencing what you may have gone through coming up is still going to be very valuable. I know you're in the car driving. I appreciate you taking you off mute, but you can definitely put it back on if that's all that you had to contribute. But there's something that I definitely wanted to read from for my brother down in Alabama and also everyone else that's on the call. But Brother Chancellor Williams, our ancestor, wrote The Destruction of Black Civilization, Great Issues of a Race from 4500 BC to 2000 AD. And in chapter 6 of that, actually chapter 6, I'm going to read a little something from you that kind of talks on this subject. On chapter 6, which begins on page 161, the African Constitution, Birth of Democracy, it talks a little bit about not only sex, but in the intimacy standpoint, but sex from understanding who we are as a male and as a female, and what our roles are within the village, or the Kijiji. I believe I said that right in Swahili. And the community overall, right? So I'm going to read a little bit from the passage, and I want you all to kind of, mention if you agree with them, disagree, or what your thoughts are. So on page 166, he talks about early education, right? Each grade, we're talking about ancient African culture. Each grade had its own social, economic, and political role. Around the ages of 6 and 7, general training and some little jobs began to be mingled with play. Primary education included storytelling, mental arithmetic, community songs, and dances. Also, how to run and climb swiftly when pursued by dangerous animals. Child training also included knowing and associating with members of one's age group as brothers and sisters, and to regard them as brothers and sisters until death and beyond. Also, little chores around the house became routine. Looking after a baby, younger ones, cooking, trying to learn, sew, and knit. And then for the boys, that was more so for the young ladies. And for the boys, from a political role, they attended tribal meetings and listened to debates, right? So from there, it talked about the next grade above childhood, which was teenage through about the ages of 18, right? And this was one of the most important stages in life. And I'm going to articulate why. Education and training became more complex and extensive. The youth's entire future depended upon their performance at this age level. He or she was marked for success or failure in the second stage that began at 13, which they were required to learn about family history, that of his society, geography of the region, naming of the states, and the nature of relations with them, the handling of weapons, which we're going to talk about a little bit more next month, as far as the area of focus, and other things such as military tactics and the division of labor between males and females, bartering tactics, rules of good manners at home and abroad, and competitive sports, right? And so all of this was pretty much done in an apprenticeship type of setting, right? So you had an elder or a older brother or mentor that taught you these things, and these type of cultures were passed down generation to generation by age and generation, right? So that's pretty much how it was on the boys' side. But I think what's really deep from the girls' side was how they were pretty much trained as well. The girls' age group was a little different from the boys, right? They had the same intellectual training as far as history, geography, rapid calculation, poetry, music, and dance, but theirs differed in terms of housekeeping, and so how to be a successful wife, an everlasting and desirable wife. In many societies, this training by older women away from the community included the art of exciting sexual intercourse, position variations, cleanliness in the relationship, and in short, the do's and don'ts in intimate relations. These early black societies were in many ways far in advance of the modern. So that pretty much concludes what Chancellor Williams talks about in the early education of young males and females, in regards to, self-identification and what they were to contribute to the society. So I want to kind of open it back up based upon that passage that I read. What are your thoughts on that, fam? Do you agree with what that was? Should we go back to some of that? What are your thoughts?
Can I step in?
Peace, brother Assad. How you doing, fam?
Yeah, what's going on, family? I'm on the road as well, so I'll definitely keep my comments brief. But, when we're talking about things like sex and love, what we're really talking about are boundaries, right? You talked about age groups coming from the destruction of black civilization. There's a boundary between each age group. When we talk about sex and we talk about love, what we're doing is we're making ourselves vulnerable, physically and emotionally, to someone who could hurt us. But we're letting them in our boundaries anyway because we've established trust with them, right? But we see them as a partner who, if we join together with them, with our shared vision of the future together, then we can build something with. I think we all agree with that, right? Even the brother with the 2-year-old, I mean, this is something you can communicate via 2-year-old, right?
Yes, indeed. Most definitely.
Okay, so we're talking about boundaries, right? The boundaries between age groups, the boundaries that restrict us and the boundaries that determine who we let into our lives. And if we all have a shared vision for the future, which is creating a better community, right? Building the type of community that resolves the issues that we're facing right now. Issues like infection, right? Sexually transmitted disease. Issues like economic weakness from single-parent households. Issues like when you have intramarital or interrelationship problems, right? Societal breakdown. All of these things trace their origins back to sex and love. Who we decide to have sex with and who we decide to love, because love is a choice. So if we're going to have this conversation, I think we should change it from sex and love to boundaries. How do we establish boundaries to ensure that we build healthy relationships? How do we establish boundaries, and who do we let into our boundaries that share our vision for the future? And when I say our vision for the future, I don't mean just between you and whoever you let into your boundaries. Because the people that you decide to have babies with impact all of us. Those babies become a part of the community for better or worse. Become either a builder of the community or a destroyer of the community. So I don't want us to think that what we do in the bedroom is private. All of that impacts our relationships, right? So I really want to have a discussion about boundaries and what this means for us as a community.
Well said. Does anyone want to kind of touch on what those boundaries look like maybe in your household, what those boundaries were like when you were coming up, or what they should be like now? Because the way children are raised now are totally different than what they were maybe when we were coming up. The amount of distractions that are available, the amount of access to like pornography and other harmful imageries of what sex is like or what relationships are like. Even on TV commercials, every TV show that you can pretty much watch that is like on commercial TV has some form of either lesbian or homosexuality or interracial dating. So anyone want to kind of talk about either on Facebook Live or on the call what those boundaries look like to you all? What's acceptable and what's not acceptable?
A lot of walking away from this.
Thank you, sir. A lot of what our children learn comes from home. They see how the daddy treats the mama, how the daddy treats his mother, how the daddy treats his sisters. And a lot of times, we don't realize it, but the boys are looking at exactly what we do. Same thing with the girls. If the girls see that the mothers are promiscuous, a lot of us are single, no doubt. But if the young girls notice that the mom is promiscuous, then of course promiscuity is unconsciously considered okay. So, and then I go back to the ignorant box, which is the television. We've got TV raising our children, electronics raising our children nowadays. It is in the kids' mind, in 1 hour you can solve any family problem that you have, because that's what they see on TV. They don't realize that it takes work to make relationships work. So they see on TV within 1 hour that whatever the crisis is in the family is solved like that. So it's giving our children an unrealistic understanding of what, problems in life is. So a couple of things we need to do. Number one, we need to cut that TV off. We need to, and if you're going to let them watch it, you need to sit there with them and explain to them, well, honey, this is not real. With these kids, when they say cut, these kids go home, do homework, eat dinner with families just like we do. So a lot of it it starts at home. The boundaries should be set at home. And my grandfather used to say these words. He says, a woman helps a young man or the son to learn how to treat a woman. And the father helps the young girl to see what a father really looks like. And so so what you put before your daughters, young man, is what they anticipate is what they're looking for in their lives, is what I'm trying to say. So to make a long story short, to kind of soften this up a little bit, be careful what you for your children at home. Thank you.
Yes, indeed, Queen. Thank you for your contribution. And you definitely mentioned some great points. Does anyone kind of want to build and add to that, or maybe add something different? If you haven't had a chance to speak and you just joined the call, please mention your name and where you're from. Right now, we're pretty much talking about boundaries that we should have in our household and in our communities in regards to teaching the youth about who they are sexually as a male and female, and what their roles are in society, in our community, and what their contributions should be. Right? So we'd love to hear from you. The floor is open.
If I could just respond to her really quickly, and then I'm back off.
Yep.
And we're talking about boundaries here, and she's mentioning putting the kids in front of the TV, the television, raising the kids, and all of these different things. We're looking at the we're looking at the results of the true problem here. The true problem goes back to who we select as mates. Mm-hmm. What type of people we decide to have sex with, what type of people we decide to enter a relationship with, right? So if we want to solve all these problems, we've got to go all the way back to selection. How do we teach our children, and how do we retrain ourselves to select the appropriate partners so that we don't find ourselves in these situations down the line? Let's stop as a community going after the hood rats. Let's stop as a community going after the men who are driving nice cars and happen to be 6'5", and you think that they're ballers, right? And start screening for brothers and sisters, for kings and queens who are going to be a vital piece of your household. That's what it starts with. That's where we draw our boundaries. That's where we decide who we enter relationships with. Yeah, you might look good, right? Yeah, you might have some body to you. Yeah, you might have some height to you. But none of that matters, because what you're seeing in that 5 seconds has an impact over the next 5, 50, and yes, even 500 years. Y'all understand what I'm saying here? So let's look past what we see, and let's start screening for people that have the traits that we're looking for and that we want to build with. That's where it starts. You start there, you don't have to worry about the television raising your children. You start there, you won't have to worry about all these other issues. Y'all agree or disagree?
Agree.
Hey, this is Franklin in Alabama again. One thing I can add to is, I was saying, as a father of a 2-year-old son, one thing I've noticed, is that at a young age, they are, they're observing, they're watching, they're learning from us, from the time that they're small. And my son is very much a daddy's boy. So he's very, very possessive of his daddy, even when it comes to my wife. I started noticing that, my wife were, comes and hug me. He comes and says, no, my daddy. And, so what I've had to start doing is teaching him, hey, it's okay for, mommy and daddy to love each other. So, when he sees me hug her now, I'll say, well, come in, you can come give mommy a hug as well. And so, just this morning, he saw me hugging my wife, and, after that, he wanted a hug. But I realized, okay, that I have to start showing him that it is okay for mom and dad to love each other. That's what he needs to see. And also the fact that, he needs to see that positive love between a black man and a black woman. And also, he needs to know what love is from a father's standpoint. A lot of times, we made the mistake of, teaching boys to, that tough love, raising them to be tough. And I have to show him that, it is okay for your dad to nurture and love you. I may not do it the exact same way that, that the woman does.
Well said, bro. We might have lost you. I'm not sure if you finished your statement, but I think we heard pretty much everything that you were saying. And I think everyone's pretty much in agreement with the fact that, a lot of that knowledge comes from what's done in the household and what's done in the community, right? But I think that everyone won't agree with what we're talking about or what Asai was mentioning as far as being so selective sexually, right? Because there are a lot of younger people or even older people as well that may not, everyone that they select, they may not want to build a relationship with or build a family with. But because of recreational or whatever the case may be, or just dating, just to try something new, they may not think it's that deep for whatever reason, right? But in regards to the preservation of lineage and culture, it's definitely important to be very selective in that screening process. And Brother Chancellor Williams talks about that as far as the black lineage being weakened over time because of integration and because of all many different types of things, from the black Egyptians mixing with the Arabs, and next thing you know, all of our, or a lot of our cultural and structures and things of that nature have been not so much tarnished and just changed over time. And the same thing right here in America, right? So the more interracial dating and things of that nature you see, the weaker our lineage and our cultural things are. And so we begin integrating with different religions and all that different type of stuff. But I would, and that's a topic, that's a topic for another discussion, whether you all agree or disagree, but I want to kind of shift it more so if we agree that it starts at home, right? And it starts with the man and the woman, right? How does a marriage succeed or fail based upon those gender roles and expectations, right? So are those gender roles for a man and a woman going into marriage the same as they were in the 60s and in the 20s? Or are they different now? Statistics show that more women are making more than men. So can men put their pride aside and marry a woman that makes more than them? Does that still make them the head of the household? What does that mean? I was talking to my queen the other day, and one of her mentors, she asked her, what is the biggest challenge of marriage? And she says, letting my man run the household, or let my man be the head of the household. And I was like, what does that even mean, right? So what are you all's thoughts? How does a marriage succeed or fail in the 21st century now, based upon the different weapons that are being used against us and the challenges that we have? What do those gender roles look like? Are they the same? Are they different? What are your thoughts?
That'll be different.
Brother Rob Thraxton. Hold on, Asad. Hold on 1 second. I want to make sure. I want to make sure everybody has a chance to speak. Brother Rob, it looks like you're on the call. Take your phone off mute. Want to hear from you. Also, my brother in Ohio, I want to hear from you as well. Take your phone off mute. Want to hear your commentary as well.
Okay, this is Sherman in Ohio. I'm going to be 60 in April, and it seems like what you're talking about is like the Leave It to Beaver stuff. I don't know if y'all old enough to know about Leave It to Beaver and all that kind of stuff, but when I grew up in the church, and luckily I learned how to read and read for myself on how not to have children. But I remember when I was a child, when the cousins got around each other and the people my age got around each other and there were no adults, we became kissing cousins. And we played house. And we played doctor. And then when I got old enough and my body could have ejaculation, I lost control. I knew that I was raised in the church, so I knew I was going to go to hell, or thought I was going to go to hell. But once the erection occurred, once I found a way to release that, I was going to hell a whole lot, because that's just your natural function. And I think that's why we have people, because that urge is so great. So I think because of the lack of communication with parents, you sneak and you have sex. I'm just speaking for myself. I had no control, and I had nobody to talk to but people my age. So when you have, I understand the boundaries and all that kind of stuff, but it was so good I couldn't resist. So if there's supposed to be a new plan to come up to help our young people be safe and all that, I'd like to hear it. But I know, and I'm guilty, sex was absolutely delicious, and I wanted to get married one day, but because I was in high school, I couldn't get married, But,
so let me interject real briefly, brother. So, and I thank you for your contribution, but we kind of shifted away from as far as the youth, and we kind of talking about adults right now. So you mentioned a little bit about marriage, right? So you talked about how you wanted to be married at a certain age, but you couldn't. So what we're talking about right now was what are the appropriate ages and steps, right? Or people should have in order before even contemplating marriage, right? And then once they make that step, how does a marriage succeed or fail based upon gender roles? So as a man, what should men be doing, right, to make sure that a marriage succeeds or and does not fail? What are your thoughts on that? Like, is it realistic for the man to be the major breadwinner? Is that even important anymore? Or should he be that one that's raising the children and having that conversation with them about that rites of passage and identifying those roles? What are your thoughts? Brother, make sure you take your make sure you take your phones off mute, family. We can't hear you too well for whatever reason. But anyone else want to kind of mention on that about gender roles within marriage? You know, what does it take for a marriage to succeed, and what do those roles look like for the male and the woman, the female and the male? So I'll kind of introduce what I believe should be true, and it kind of builds off of what Chancellor Williams was talking about, right? Um, and so, as you can see now, there's a lot has changed, based upon what we've gone through and where we are now to this day. A lot of women are going to college and are graduating with more degrees and becoming more educated in the terms of in the system of education than men are, and so their opportunities for employment and income is higher. So and plus a lot of our men are incarcerated due to the ma'afa of mass incarceration and things of that nature. So I think brothers, as brothers, we should be very realistic about our expectations going into a marriage. And then also women should definitely be able to put their pride aside and let a man be a man in terms of running the household and his masculine responsibilities. But I also think it's very important that we define out what is male labor and what is female labor, both within the house and outside of the home, so none of it is really overlapping and everyone has boundaries. It kind of goes back to what Brother Assad was talking about. But kind of like changing from that, I kind of want to take it to Black Power, right? We're going within maybe like the last 20 minutes in the conversation, and I think this is very important because this is one of the terms that's kind of used very freely and very openly in our community, and both outside of our community, and what Black Power used to look like in the 60s with the Black Panther movement, maybe even the Civil Rights movement, if people identify with that, what Malcolm X was doing, and so many other of our ancestors, right? Looks very different than what it is now. If you go on TV and, you turn on the CNN or any type of news broadcasting station, you might see people marching, and the news and the white controlled media, they throw out certain organizations and figures that lead you to believe who the leaders are, right? So that might be someone like Al Sharpton or Black Lives Matter, and they use that term very broadly and associate so many different types of people with it. So my question to you all is, what is your definition of Black Power, and what does it look like? Assad, are you still on the line? We'd love to hear from you, bro. Facebook Live. If you're on Facebook Live, Brother Dante, Montrell, Jordy's, definitely want to hear from you, Sebastian. What is your definition of Black Power, and what does it look like? Craig, if you're on the line, want to hear from you. My sister out in Tennessee, want to hear from you. What is your definition of Black Power? What does it look like, fam? Peace. Make sure you take your phones off mute. We definitely want to hear from you.
It's Craig from Kansas City. For Black Power, economic freedom. And you got to have your money back in Black Power and your education. So it stems from the family values, but it got to have balance. And the problem is we are supposed to have gender roles, but I'm keen to see women doing different things nowadays. I see women that like to cut grass. that's what I learned for us, all the older people that still married today. It's all about respect.
Most definitely, bro. Economics, respect, and those gender roles. So, when it comes to Black Power, is it only in terms of economics, right? If we're talking about in gender roles, so within the household, you're talking about maybe cooking and cleaning and other chores and stuff like that, or who's going to make the most money, or what type of work that we're going to do to strive towards this common goal. So, does it only regard economics, or what about political? So, how does Black Power look politically to you, bro?
Well, politically, you got to understand what is political value. So you got to study that. And as a family, though, I think we should, start to, even now, it ain't never too late to study and understand what politics is about, internationally, local level, and on every level. See, we got to understand those things. But if a family don't want to come together to build on that structure, then it's not good to be with those people. Like outside was saying earlier, it's all about selection. Choosing a mate is going to be beneficial in the longer run. If you don't teach no one that, then they won't make the wiser decision.
Well said, fam.
All that is black back. So that all stems to Black Power. It's supposed to be your own mind, your own culture supposed to be your power. So within that, because you get your identity from your culture. So we don't go back with some culture about our culture and just teach these kids, it ain't too late for them. If they know best on how to select a mate even now, it does better for the next generation. So we got to look at stepping out like I was saying, what's the bottom line of this selection? What's the bottom line? How you going to live? Are y'all in agreement on things? See, most people get together nowadays just to have fun. They ain't getting together to have a business relationship.
Mm-hmm. Most definitely, bro. Thank you for your contribution. Good thoughts. And Brother Muhammad on Facebook Live, peace to him, he said he feels like Black Power is everything we as Black do is centered around Black people. So definitely elaborate on what you think that means, bro. But I think he just gave a thumbs up to what you were saying, Craig, in regards of Black Power covers multiple areas of life, right? Within the 959. It covers economics, right? But within economics, it definitely has a respect on gender roles, right? And also not only between the male and the female, between males, right? Cooperative economics and the principle of Ujamaa, and making sure like we're not being cutthroat out here because we're trying to practice group economics, but instead of practicing group economics, we're being more capitalistic instead of being socialistic, right? But also in terms of political area of life, making sure that we study our local, our national, and international politics and what our relationships are like with different nations, right? Are they allies to Black people in the countries that we individually live in, or are they enemies, right? And then also going back and utilizing and implementing and executing the element or the principle of Sankofa, going back and researching, doing the knowledge on the history, and bringing that up to the present, applying that, and then how that's going to affect us in the future, for sure. Anybody else? Definitely want to hear from you all. Make sure your phones are off mute. How do you define, or how do you see Black Power, and what does that look like to you all? My sister from Tennessee, we love to hear from you. Definitely want to have a nice balanced thought process and contribution. What are your thoughts on it, Queen? No problem. Take your time. I appreciate you all that's driving to your destination still on the call, but go ahead, Queen.
All right. I don't think there's anything anymore as gender roles. I think that if the wife is making more money and it makes sense for the dad to be at home raising the kids, I'm an advocate for homeschooling, and or vice versa. So I think if the wife comes home from work and she's tired, and the husband comes home from work and he's tired, I don't see any reason why they both can't share what would normally be called, ladies' work. So I don't really think there's any gender roles right now for anybody. I think everybody just Black everybody else to do everything. Cut your grass, can be the woman, can be the man. I don't think there's a gender role. There are gender roles anymore in a family.
Interesting. Go ahead, sis. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. Go ahead.
Oh no, that was it. Thank you.
Brothers, what are your thoughts? Do you all agree with her that the fact that wherever you get in is where you fit in, basically in a marriage or in a relationship? So if your queen or your significant other is the major breadwinner and she's paying most or if not all the bills, you should be at the one at home cooking, cleaning, and taking care of the children. What are your thoughts on that, brothers? Looks like they might agree with you, Queen. So here's my thoughts on Black Power, and when I thought about this, I thought like this can be so broad, right? So I tried to make it as specific as possible. So I'm reading from this book by African Creation Energy called The Science of Science and The Science in Science. And on page 198, it talks about African Creation Energy, right? So the definition of what is called power, right? In nature, or nature is physics, power is defined as the rate or amount of time it takes for work to be done, or scientifically, energy to be converted. And in science, the black body, also we're staying in physics, right? And physics is just another word for nature. It's scientifically defined as an ideal object that absorbs all electromagnetic radiation or light energy that it receives. So there was a couple things that stood out before I get to my definition that really kind of made me think deeper about what power is and what it means to be black or blackness. So when you talk about power and energy, right? Energy or power is force, right? And force is defined as anything that causes change of position, hence movement, right? And energy is, when you go talk about energy in the law of physics, talks about the conservation of energy, or that law. And the conservation of energy, or the law of nature, states that energy cannot be created in the sense that it comes from nowhere and nothing into existence. So you know how people say, just came out of nowhere, right? And energy cannot be destroyed in the sense that it ever ceases to exist, but rather energy can transform or change from one form to another, right? So those are some of the things that I thought about in terms of what black power is, or what energy may be. So the way I define it personally from a scientific school of thought is that black power, or what it possibly looks like to me, is collective cooperation, international harmony, and cultural preservation and empowerment between the original black man, woman, child towards positive change, right? And the reason why I defined it that way is because I think it's unrealistic to believe that we're just going to naturally unify and get along on all areas of life and all schools of thought with people from New York to LA, or from Ohio to Nigeria, or different things like that. And these are kind of like larger exaggerations, but at the end of the day, as long as we have this collective cooperation, right, and this harmony, not only with our brothers and sisters here, but throughout the diaspora. And it kind of goes back to what Brother Craig was talking about from a political statement, right? Learning foreign policy, right, and making sure that we know what's going on the continent, and that we're advocating for those rights. And at the same time, our brothers and sisters on the continent are advocating for our rights over here as well. But when you're talking about it from a micro level, that empowerment and that cultural preservation between black men and women and children towards that positive change. So that's what, black power kind of looks like to me. It's not always going to be pretty and kisses, hugs, and beautiful words, but as long as it's collective and it's harmonious and it's empowering and it's a movement of positive change towards a collective goal, that's what I believe it looks like to me. And that's what I love so much about United Black America. We come together on Sundays and we deconstruct, reconstruct, and innovate what these new laws are and what these new rules are and how to go about doing it. And you also see other organizations that are out there that are doing certain things in the community and things of that nature. But I think at the same time, we have to be very political about it. So when people come at us with objections or challenges, it's not so much, well, that's just the white version, that's just the black version of white power, or that's black supremacy. No, we are operating on a school of science and politics in terms of Pan-Africanism, right? So it's kind of almost like a spinoff of, or integrated, or a subcategory of Pan-Africanism. And so that's defined as the laws and beliefs that benefit Africans in the diaspora, flat out. There isn't anything supreme about it. There isn't anything that's inferior about it. It's all about empowerment for things that are that benefit us as a people. Do you all kind of agree, disagree? Do you all want to kind of contribute to what that vision is of Black Power? What are your thoughts, kings and queens? Brother Muhammad on Facebook Live said, "We do not steal from one another. We so not kill one another. We do not sell or offer drugs to one another." And you know, I think that's also knowledge. That's peace right there, fam. And Brother Chancellor William talks about in Destruction of Black Civilization. Of course, he talks about the weapons and everything of white supremacy and our relations with them, but he also talks about how some of the larger scale wars have been black on black, right? When you look at Bloods and Crips banging out there in LA and all throughout the nation, right? Or now, a lot of it just changed. Instead of being so much color, it's more tribal or more communal. So my neighborhood is beefing with your neighborhood. So we have to definitely be cognizant of those type of things. And how do we deal with, we're talking about relationship element of life, how do we deal with brothers and sisters that have that school of thought? Do we include them? Do we educate them? Do we kind of push them away because they're kind of derailing our progress? How do we go about doing that as well? Anyone else want to kind of define what Black Power looks like, or what that vision is to you all from a political, economic standpoint? What are your thoughts?
This is Phyllis again. To me, Black Power is when we can all come together and be able to manipulate political drafts or political attributes that would benefit our people. We don't, right now, we don't have any advocates for us. The gays have advocates, the Hispanics have advocates, but there's really not any advocates for the black community. And I think if we could just get together and become one and be able to manipulate the political system in order to benefit our people, then I think we would have Black Power.
Ashe, Queen. No, thank you. Thank you as well. And I think that from what everyone's contributions are, from Craig to Phyllis, we have about 8 minutes left, so I would love to hear from you all. I don't want you all to feel singled out. Make sure you take your phones off mute. But Black Power is a political concept, right? And an economic. And I think the more we talk about economics and politics and relationships, they all overlap, right? And it requires unity, right? Unity in mind, body, and spirit. So above as below, right? Or so below as above, vice versa. And so it's very important that we practice the concepts and the principles of the past and original principles, such as Umoja of Kwanzaa, which talks about unity and oneness in the community, and we apply these in our daily lifestyles, right? So, and that's what Black Power is all about, right? We're not saying that everybody else is non-powerful. Matter of fact, that's the reason why we're practicing Black Power, right? So that we can compete and preserve a lot of our cultural and ancestral lineage and customs and things of that nature when it comes to starting our own businesses and starting our own families and things of that nature. Just passing that on down generation to generation. But I don't want to feel like I'm the only one that's talking. What about everyone else? We have about 7, 8 other callers on the line. If you haven't had a chance to speak, we'd love to hear from you. You know, what is your definition of Black Power and what does that look like as we go forward? Or what can we study to kind of give us a better idea of what it looks like? Are there scrolls? Are there videos that we should watch? Documentaries? Are there community events that we can go to that can kind of just give us a sense of what Black Power looks like? because with the younger generation, everybody's not going to sit there and go through and read a book, even though they should. Destruction of Black Civilization. This is a great scroll that teaches you about what Black power should look like, and the reason why, because he goes through the whole process of deconstruction, reconstruction, and innovation in regards to where to go from here and where we come from. So, but like I said, everybody's not going to sit down and read a 300 plus page book, right? But Destruction of Black Civilization is a great start. Also, another thing that I would recommend to the family, I'm going to put this in the Facebook Live group as well. But just simple things as far as practicing group economics. There's a Black-owned company called Bent Publishing. You can go to the website bentpublishing.com, and they produce Black calendars. And so every day of the year, there's a historical Black history fact. And this is a great way to kind of teach your children and maybe educate your peers, co-workers, and things of that nature just about Black history from a daily aspect. So you kind of get to change your mind on how you view it and what your role and responsibility is to it. But as I mentioned, like maybe before the call, I was just going through the daily facts throughout the week, and I'll kind of wrap it up as well. So I think that's a great way to do it as well. Purchase yourself a Black history calendar and just educate yourself and your family about just daily facts that go on throughout the history, just to keep you on that mindset. Brother Michael Parker said, "Is it bet or bit?" Oh, my fault, fam. It is. I'm gonna put it in the Facebook Live group in a second. It's called Bent, BENT, Publishing.com. That's bentpublishing.com. So if you're on the call, make sure you write that down. Go check out the website, and the calendars are super affordable too. It's only like $10. I think the one he did for 2017, which is really sweet. I wish I could share my screen with y'all. It's a National Museum of African American History. He has one of those calendars. He also has a calendar of the Obamas as well. So really cool. If you're in the D.C., Maryland, Virginia area, I highly recommend next Sunday, February 19th, hit up Skate Palace. So if you out there, if you got some rhythm, we all Black people, I know y'all got rhythm. Hit up the Skate Palace. They're having the Black Love Roller Skating Party fundraiser. It's only $10 per person. It's from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. and it's out there at 3132 Branch Avenue. Again, that is Skate Palace from 11 a.m. to 2 o'clock p.m. And that's going to be at the Roots Activity Learning Center. And joining the Sunday sessions, man, we do this every Sunday, 7 to 8 o'clock p.m. If you're on Facebook Live, the call-in number is 404-448-2002. And this isn't just something that is just kind of like for United Black America. This is for the community. So tell your family, tell your friends, tell your lady, tell your husband, tell your significant other, your crush, to join in on the calls, because we're going to talk about all areas of life. And it's just a beautiful thing. So thank you all for joining. And also, I want to shout out to everybody that joined on Facebook Live. Muhammad, Michael, Montrell, let's see who else was on the call. Jordy's, Sebastian, Brother Dante out there in Virginia. I thank you all for joining on Facebook Live. That's the reason why we have that feature for people that can't join in on the call. You have another way to access this resource. And also thank you for everybody else that was on the call. I didn't get everybody's names, but I got my man from Alabama, my brother out there in Ohio that's in the work study course. Keep pushing, bro. You're almost through that. Brother Craig, Sister Phyllis, Rob Thraxton that was on the call as well. So thank you for joining. And also keep in mind that it is Black History Month. So make sure you do something out there in the community, whether it's with the family or by yourself, that kind of empowers or personifies what Black power and Black love is. That can be going to an event. That could be supporting your local Black-owned business. If you're on Facebook Live, you can see I got this Akan t-shirt on. And this basically is the Adinkara, if I said that pronouncedly, symbol for God is King or God is Supreme. Nyame Ye Oene. I hope I pronounced that correctly and said that right. But yeah, man, just find different ways to celebrate your Black history and your Black power and your Black love with your people, because, you know, even though it's only 28 days in this month, our Black history is forever, right? So that goes on every day, every week, and every year. So just definitely keep that in mind, family. And then lastly, I also want to say a couple more things. The mission of United Black America, whether you're a member or this is your first time joining, I know Sebastian said this was his first time joining, finding out on YouTube, is that it's very simple. It's three things. To spread Black consciousness, which is what we're doing now, fight white supremacy, and establish a United States of Africa. And we have 5 tenets, right? Or 3 tenets, I'm sorry. Do no harm to your people, help your people in need, and hold the line. So I appreciate everybody holding the line tonight, and make sure you hold the line throughout the upcoming week as well. And lastly, I'm just going to say, join the movement. Go to unitedblackamerica.org, where you can join the movement, find out more information about our organization. Join a work study course. Connect with like-minded individuals. It's only 8 weeks, right? Also, you can follow us on Twitter, which is Pan-African Unity. That's PANAFRICAN Unity. And on Instagram, we are at The Real UBA. And in the event that you can't make a Sunday session, but you want to catch up on the previous week or hear something from a week in past, just go on their YouTube channel, United Black America. That's United Black America on YouTube. You can watch all the Sunday sessions and other videos that we have. And then if you're a member or you just joined, please join the Sunday sessions channel and Slack. Give your feedback on it, topics that you want to hear discussed in the future, whether I did a good job or a horrible job. Just want to hear your thoughts, fam. But that's it for me. It's 8:02. I want you all to enjoy your week and enjoy your Black history. With that being said, I love you all. Take care, family. Peace.